Okay guys, welcome back to my channel. So I have tried so many times to film this. I'm not even joking. I'm not exaggerating. This is probably like my sixth time trying to film this video. And I'm just about to leave for work, but I wanted to give it one more try. So today's video is going to be about trusting your intuition and your judgment, your gut, whatever you want to call it, okay? So I have a few examples from my personal life that I will share with you guys in hopes that you're able to resonate with it and hopefully catch to see if this is something that you're doing in your life. Usually you might find yourself doing this when you are around people that you don't necessarily respect. Of course, we have like that underlying respect for everyone we encounter, but I mean, like sometimes you have certain friends or family members that you really look up to and you would definitely like listen to their suggestions and take it to heart and implement it in your own life. I'm not talking about that. These are certain situations where you come across like everyday people that you really don't know, or your coworkers that are kind of on the same level as you and you're not necessarily wanting to like switch spots with them. And I'm not saying that you can't like respect your coworkers or like the everyday people you come across, of course not. This is more about asserting your boundaries and loving yourself and trusting yourself and not feeling like you need to always trust other people. And so I was going through my notes and I did come across a note that I had written a year ago. And I think in that time in my life, the reason I would almost trust other people or like listen to what they were telling me to do was to almost like shift blame. So like I wouldn't feel bad if I got something wrong. So it's more like, okay, like if you're telling me to do that, I'll do it. At least that'll mean like I'm not wrong, right? So I think I've definitely evolved from that. So my example for this is, let's say you're riding a bike and you're going really fast and you're learning, okay? And you have to like turn a corner and you don't put your foot down on the sidewalk to kind of like pivot yourself. You're going to lose balance and you're going to fall, okay? But if you never do that, if you never like if someone says never turn a corner and then you never turn a corner, you're never going to learn that you need to put your foot down and in order so you don't fall, okay? But let's say that you do turn that corner and then you end up falling because you didn't put your foot down. Now you know for next time that anytime you take a turn, you need to balance your weight by putting your foot down on the sidewalk, okay? So that's like a very basic example. So it's almost like if you don't trust yourself and you don't go through life by assessing your judgment through situations, you're never gonna know how to trust yourself, okay? I'm gonna give you guys 4 examples of my personal life, and I think these, obviously I have so many more than that, but these are the 4 that I really remember from the top of my head. So the first one being when I was in grade 12, I had an art project. I ended up going to my friend to ask for assistance on the project, and which, by the way, if you ever have questions, try to go to the source. So go to your teacher, your prof, like your manager at work. Try not always depending on your coworkers because you never know. Someone might actually want to steer you the wrong way, and it's just better to go to the source. Of course, you can like, and another example of this is like recently I had an assignment, and no hate to the girl that was at the library. I went to the peer tutor session and showed her my assignment. She ended up like editing it and I thought it was great, but I still had like, I was like, oh, like this part doesn't make sense, like what she added or whatever. I ended up putting it in Grammarly and I had like 36 mistakes, which again, no hate to her, but it's like, can you imagine if I never trusted my judgment and then just submitted the assignment thinking that she was better than me and she knew what she was doing? Not saying that she's not like stupid, but she's definitely more educated than I am. But if I never trusted my gut and didn't insert like my essay into Grammarly and just admitted it, like I probably would have done worse than I did. And I don't know how I did yet, but yeah. Okay, so always follow your instinct. So I wasn't always like this. I think I still struggle with this, but I am able to catch myself a lot better, and you really can't catch yourself until you notice that this is something that you do. So like I was saying, grade 12 art assignment, went to my friend instead of going to my teacher. My friend ended up, she was like, yeah, you know what, like I know what to do, and no hate to my friend. And she ended up like cutting my assignment up, okay? And the whole time I'm just thinking like, I did not like, during the examples, like I didn't hear my teacher or see my teacher even talk about cutting up the dimensions. Anyways, she did that, I handed it in, and my teacher was just like, what the heck is this? Like, why is it all cut up? And I remember during like the process of my friend cutting it up, like just before, I was asking her like, are you sure? And she's like, yes. But like in my heart, in my gut, like I knew like this is incorrect. But then I was like, you know what, she's better than me, like she's smarter than me, like of course she knows what's right or wrong, right? Like I have to follow her. And this is a prime example of like not putting people on a pedestal. You cannot put other people above you, okay? Religiously too, like it is not the right card to play, I guess. Like it is very, very wrong to idolize people. You should not worship anyone, okay? Like we are all human, and you cannot look at someone and idolize. I feel like when you kind of idolize someone, you're almost, I don't know what that comes from exactly, but you maybe like envy, jealousy, or you think they're better than you because they're doing something that's a lot different than what you're doing and that you want to be like. But when I think about my friends and family members that I truly respect and look up to, I definitely don't idolize them. I just respect them, okay? So and you shouldn't be thinking that anyone's better than you. Like always learn from others, and there's nothing wrong with questioning whoever's coming up to you and whatever they're saying to you. Always question it if that's what is in your heart, and you can do that in a very kind manner. You don't have to be like, oh, like if my friend came up to me and she was like, yeah, like this is what you have to do for our project, I wouldn't be like, oh, like what the hell, no, you're wrong, like I think that's wrong. I'd just be like, oh, okay, like let me look at a syllabus, maybe let me double check with my teacher just to make sure, and thank you so much for helping me, let me just get back to you real quick. Like it could be as simple as that. My second example was, I think like a few years ago when I was a first grad nurse, and I had a patient. I really don't remember if the patient fell on my shift, but I do recall my assessment was that this patient had a hip fracture. None of the nurses were, you know, like saying, yes, okay, like this patient does have a hip fracture, you're completely right. Everyone was like, no, like this is, you don't know what you're talking about, like he's fine, blah, blah. I think this went on for like a whole week, and he finally got sent to the hospital, and it turns out he had a hip fracture. And I remember that entire week I was so on edge because I felt like I was the only one. I literally was the only one in the whole facility who thought this person had a hip fracture. Even the charge nurses were like, no, like, and it's hard when like other nurses, especially a charge nurse, is looking at you, or a supervisor or manager, like, what are you talking about? And it's really, really difficult, especially in a new environment, and you kind of just feel like, am I going crazy? Like, and people are talking about you, judging you, like thinking that you have incorrect assessments. Like it's a really like heavy feeling to carry with you, and especially like if everyone's like looking at you wonky. So it was really hard. But when the poor guy, by the way, but when it turned out that he did have a fracture, I kind of, you know, really looked at myself and I was like, okay, you know what, like I'm not going crazy and I can trust myself. But it takes multiple times of trusting yourself, whether you get it right or wrong, to really form a strong foundation, okay? So I might have like felt like, okay, like I'm right in that moment, but it's not like I continued that. Like I still, throughout my nursing career from that time and on, like continue to trust other people. And the most recent example is when I had a patient who was end of life, and I came to work, it was a night shift, and the patient had a bunch of family in the room. And I went to introduce myself and do my assessments. And during my assessment, the patient's condition changed, and I felt like she was going to pass away very soon, like within a few minutes or an hour or so. And so I told the family, you know what, I think it's time. If you want to say your goodbyes, you should. And if you have any other family members you want to call and have here, you should do that promptly. And I left the room, and there was my coworker who has 15-20 years of experience on me, okay? And I told her what I told the family, and she said to me, why would you do that? This patient is not going to pass away, and now you have them freaking out and calling other people to the facility. I've been working here for X amount of years. I've seen so many cases. This is incorrect. Like, what are we gonna do? And I was just thinking to myself, like, okay, in my heart and my gut, I was like, no, this is my assessment. I definitely feel like she's gonna pass away. And obviously I wanted to tell the family because they were kind of just like lounging around, and I was like, you know what, if she just like passes away and they don't say their goodbyes or like pray or do whatever they need to do, it's gonna feel horrible, right? So I kind of just sat at my nursing station for the whole time, and I think family members started rolling in, and an hour goes by and the family comes up to me and they're like, okay, like our I don't know if I should state the relationship, but the patient passed away. And obviously my heart goes out to the family, but I had such a sense of relief because I felt like, okay, like I can trust my judgment. This is another time that something has happened where my assessment was correct. And my coworker ends up coming back and apologizing to me, and she was like, you know what, your assessment was right. Like, I'm sorry for doubting you. And of course, like, no hard feelings. And I was like, yeah, no worries. Like, you know, you just never know. She could have stayed alive the whole shift. Like, we don't know. So like the whole point of this video is to trust yourself and to not idolize someone and think that they're better than you because of whatever reason that you come up with in your mind. The whole reason for this video is so that you can practice building a strong foundation of trusting yourself, your instinct, and your gut. And it won't happen unless you wholeheartedly try your best to intercept like the thoughts that you have when you're about to agree with someone, and always question yourself before you agree with someone. And if you aren't sure if you should agree with them or not, there is nothing wrong with telling the other person like, hey, I need some time to reflect on this, I'll get back to you. Okay, no one wants a person who's like quick to agree or disagree with. If you need that extra time, take it. Okay. And I just like think about, like, let's say if I have a cousin that I really look up to, and if I told her like, hey, this is my opinion on XYZ, and she tells me her opinion, let's just say I don't agree with it, I know that I'm able to discuss it with her and be like, hey, okay, I don't really get this is my point of view. She would definitely discuss it with me. So if you come across people who like definitely like just cut you off and don't even hear your POV and aren't even up for the discussion, then you know that could have said something. But I want you guys to trust yourselves, okay? And you can only do that by trying it out in even like the smallest situations. Let's say you're in a grocery store, it's a small work meeting, like there's so many different like scenarios, okay? But just try your best and keep like thinking before you agree or disagree with someone. And I want you to do your best to follow your instinct. So let's say you go out with your friends and you guys are ordering something and everyone's ordering like something similar, but you want to order something else. Stick to your gut and order what you want. These are very small steps, and then this will help you make bigger decisions by like something more major, okay? But think about how powerful a person is who trusts themselves, right? And is calm in the way they speak and doesn't judge you for making the decisions that you want to make, right? Think about someone that you really look up to in your life and think about their demeanor and how they carry themselves. And if they trust themselves, ask yourself, does this person trust themselves? Do they make their decisions, their own decisions? And then like compare it to your life.